Michael Venom Page is finally in the UFC. It was announced during Dana's post-fight interview, and he will be taking on Kevin Holland. That is an amazing fight, and Dana also announced 3 other fights for UFC 299. Gilbert Burns is facing Della Maddalena. Garry, everyone's favorite fighter, is facing Geoff Neal, and Yadong is facing Petr. These are all excellent fights, and we'll get into them in a minute, but I really want to talk about Michael Venom Page. There are so many great strikers that would create fun matchups, like the Kevin Holland fight, which we are getting, like Della Maddalena, Garry, Geoff Neal. The Michael Page and Stephen Thompson fight can finally happen. This is one people have wanted for a long time, and now it's finally possible. And that might be the best fight you can put on in all of MMA. But for those of you who don't know who Michael Venom Page is, I know a lot of people probably only watch the UFC who are watching this. He was supposed to be Bellator's Conor McGregor. He was their star. They were trying to build him up, but unfortunately Bellator just has no clue how to build a star. They protected him for way too long, gave him cans that he easily beat, and then when it came time for him to fight real good competition, he wasn't prepared, which is unfortunate because if he signed with the UFC sooner, who actually know how to build a star, they could have built him up over time, slowly increased the competition level, and actually prepared him for those big moments. The big issue being he is getting up there in age. He's 36 years old. He's been through a lot of wars, but he is still an extremely entertaining fighter. He has highlight reel knockout after highlight reel knockout after highlight reel knockout. But let's talk about this fight with Kevin Holland. So for those of you who do not know anything about MVP, he is a striker through and through. He's an extremely fluid striker. His striking is beautiful to watch. He doesn't have a textbook style. He doesn't fight like everyone else. He has a very unorthodox style where he darts in and out of range super quickly. His explosions are insane. He's a super explosive fighter, has a lot of power in his hands. One punch knockout power, can knock out anyone on the planet. He's fast, he's sharp, he has amazing boxing, a really good right hand, sometimes a little too reliant on his right hand, and that gets him in trouble at times, but he blasts people with that right hand. That right hand has so much power. He has some good kicks as well. He's very dynamic, very flexible. Where he struggles the most is with wrestlers. He doesn't have great takedown defense, doesn't have great wrestling, great grappling. We saw that in the Logan Storley fight, but Kevin Holland might not try and take him down. We saw in the Wonderboy fight, Kevin Holland pretty much just refused to take Wonderboy down and wanted to put on an entertaining striking match for the fans. And I can see him doing that again here. He should take the fight down. That's where he's gonna have his best chance at winning. He's a way better wrestler than Michael Page, should be able to take the fight down. And on the ground, Holland has some legit grappling. He submitted Michael Chiesa, who has very good jiu-jitsu, with a Darce choke. He's just so long, which helps him find submissions, but in this fight, he might not even try and take Michael Page down. He might try and put on a fun striking match for the fans like he did against Wonderboy. And on the feet, he might lose to Michael Page. They are extremely competitive. MVP is the only guy in the welterweight division that can match Kevin Holland's length. They are the same height at 6'3", with Michael Page having a 79-inch reach and Kevin Holland having an 81-inch reach. Michael Venom Page also is faster. He is probably a more technical striker, definitely a more diverse striker. Kevin Holland is more of a boxer. MVP will mix it up. He'll use the kick, something Kevin Holland doesn't do. He has better footwork. He can slide in and out of range. Now, Kevin Holland is a very good boxer himself, and MVP is hittable and doesn't have the best chin, but Kevin Holland is also very hittable. He doesn't have great striking defense, so I think we will see a knockout here. But as an early prediction, originally I was going to go with Kevin Holland, but I think I'm actually going to switch. I think as an early prediction, I'm going to go with Michael Venom Page. He just hits way harder, and Kevin Holland does get caught with that right hand. And the things MVP struggles with, like the takedowns, like the leg kicks, Kevin Holland probably won't or just doesn't use. I think they have a competitive boxing match in the first round. MVP will mix in the kicks as well, and then I think he finds a knockout in the second round. But I am very excited for MVP to join the UFC. There are so many good fights for him here. Now, do I see him becoming a champion? Probably not. He's way too old, and the welterweight division is a very hard division for a guy like him to climb. Like I said, he struggles with the wrestling and the grappling, and there are so many good wrestlers and grapplers in the welterweight division. Colby Covington, Gilbert Burns, Shavkat, Belal can wrestle a little. Kamaru Usman obviously can wrestle. Even Leon Edwards can wrestle. So everyone in the top 5 has good wrestling or grappling. So I don't see him becoming a champion, but I am still super excited to see him in the UFC. There are so many great fights they can put on. MVP versus Kevin Holland wasn't the only fight announced for UFC 299. We also got Gilbert Burns versus Della Maddalena, which is a good fight. Ian Garry versus Geoff Neal, which is an insane fight. And Petr Yan versus Yadong, which might just be the best fight on the whole card. But let's start with Gilbert Burns versus Della Maddalena. It's pretty clear what the UFC is doing here. They're trying to build up the young star in Della Maddalena with the older Gilbert Burns. But this is a great fight. It really comes down to one thing. Can Burns take him down? That is the big question. Because if he can't, he doesn't have much for Della Maddalena on the feet. He is a very good boxer. Very fast. He's extremely technical, has a good jab, a good 1-2, can switch stances so that southpaw jab, which Gilbert Burns is allergic to, will land all day. And we all know Gilbert is extremely hittable. He doesn't have very good striking defense, doesn't really move his head. He keeps his hands up, but he keeps them super wide, so those straight shots right down the center line are always there. That's part of the reason why that southpaw jab is so effective against him. The 1-2s from Maddalena are going to constantly be there. The jab is going to be a huge weapon. Offensively, Gilbert Burns not bad. He's not the most technical striker, but he's very fast, very powerful, one of the hardest hitting guys in the division. And Maddalena has never gone up against a guy who can hit as hard as Gilbert Burns. But on the feet, Gilbert's just way too hittable and Maddalena's way too technical. So Gilbert has to really take this fight down to win. And I think he can. JDM was taken down by Hafez, who is not the best wrestler. And although Burns isn't elite at wrestling, he has gotten a lot better over his career. And he's still a pretty good wrestler. Can take him down, does have a good double leg. And once he takes this fight down, JDM is not getting up. Gilbert Burns is going to be able to control him on the ground better than anyone in the division. So as an early prediction, I am going to go with Gilbert Burns by a decision. I think he will be able to take this fight down, and then once this fight hits the ground, I don't see JDM working his way up from the bottom. Burns is going to be able to look for ground and pound like he used extremely effectively against Tyron Woodley. He could also possibly attack submissions. I know Gilbert isn't a big submission guy at welterweight. He's more of a positional grappler, but if they present themselves, he could attack an arm bar. He has an amazing arm bar or an arm triangle. And then the next fight that was announced is Ian Garry versus Geoff Neal. This fight was originally supposed to happen a few months ago. Geoff Neal pulled out, I forget with what, and Neil Magny stepped in, and obviously Ian Garry destroyed Neil Magny. But this is going to be an insane striking match where neither guy will probably take the other to the ground. Geoff Neal might attempt a takedown here and there, but I don't see him getting it. Ian Garry fights like a sniper way more than Geoff Neal, which is interesting because Ian Garry has a shorter reach than Geoff Neal. Ian has okay boxing, a good jab, a good right cross. He has some decent combinations, but he does his best work with his kicks. He's very fast, very dynamic with his kicks. He has good head kicks, good leg kicks like we saw in the Neil Magny fight, good body kicks. Geoff Neal does stand like a boxer with a lot of weight on his front leg, which does make him vulnerable to the leg kicks, but because they are in opposite stances, those outside leg kicks are not there. But that opens up the head kick and the body kick for Ian Garry, which is going to be his best weapon in this fight. He has to constantly kick at the body, use the body kicks to set up the head kicks, throw teeps to the body, just keep Geoff Neal out of boxing range, because that is where Geoff Neal does his best work. Geoff Neal might be the best boxer in the welterweight division. He has a good jab, very good combinations, good up close, can work the body, work the head, step to the outside and set up that left cross. Controlling outside foot position is going to be key here. Because they're in opposite stances, their lead hand is going to constantly clash with each other, which is going to immediately take away Ian Garry's jab. Geoff Neal is very good at pairing jabs like we saw in the Shavkat fight. Now Shavkat was out jabbing him, but Shavkat also has a better jab than Ian Garry. And because that jab hand is neutralized, it makes it more of a power of the backhand or the power hand on the feet. And Geoff Neal just has a way better power hand. He's faster, more powerful, way more technical, more defensive. Ian Garry drops his right hand. He'll drop his hand and then throw the punch, and then he drops it right to his hip on the retraction, which makes him weak to that left hook, which is the power side for Geoff Neal. But in the end, I will go with Geoff Neal. He does have to worry about that open side power kick, but I think he'll be able to work his way around it into boxing range, and I think he'll just tear Ian Garry apart with that left hook. Ian Garry's boxing defense is not very good. That's how Song Kenan was able to drop him, was with that left hook. And I'll go with him by a 3rd round knockout. And then the last fight that was announced was Song Yadong versus Petr Yan. This is an amazing fight between two very good boxers, very explosive fighters. Both guys can shoot takedowns, but both guys also have very good takedown defense. So I think we will see a boxing match here on the feet. And when Yan is unorthodox because he can switch stances, I think the leg kicks from both guys will be there. Song has some decent leg kicks. Yan has pretty good leg kicks himself. Here's what it comes down to. Does Song have the ability to overwhelm Yan? It is only a 3-round fight. It's not a 5-round fight. We all know Yan is notoriously better in 5 rounds and worse in 3 rounds. But does Song have the volume and the pace to put on Yan and overwhelm the data like what Merab did to him, or like what Corey did to Cheeto? Because if Yan is able to figure Song out, he's going to be able to pick out his counters. And Song is more of an explosive power puncher. He doesn't really fight with volume too much. So I am actually going to go with Petr Yan. Not confident in this at all. If it was a 5-round fight, I'd be way more confident. We also don't know where Yan's confidence is at going into this. The Merab fight might have broke him mentally, and he has lost, what, 4 out of his last 5? So we don't know where he's at mentally going into this fight, whereas Song is on a win streak, has all the momentum going in. He's young, up and coming, hungry. He's powerful, he's fast, he can mix in the takedowns, he has some good leg kicks, but I think Yan's going to be able to figure him out. I don't think Song has the ability to overwhelm Yan with pressure and volume, which is going to make it way easier for Yan to pick out his counters, mix in the leg kicks and the takedowns with that, and I think he wins a 2-1 decision. But it is only a 3-rounder, and I fully expect Yan to give up the first round. We all know Yan likes to give up the early rounds to figure out his opponents and download the data, but in a 3-round fight, it's really hard to give up any rounds because there's not many after. And I could see a world where Yan doesn't get going until the 3rd round, and by that point it's too late. But I'm going to trust that Yan has made the adjustment. He definitely knows he needs to start faster. He would have taken pretty much a year off, and I'm sure that's something he's been trying to work on. So I am going to go with Yan, not confident in this whatsoever. And that's it. I'm so excited for UFC 299. This card looks amazing. I'm so excited for all these fights. The best fight, it might be Geoff Neal versus Garry, or MVP versus Holland, or Song Yadong versus Petr Yan. There's so many good fights on this card. Cheeto versus Sean. So many fun striking matches. Blades versus Almeida is a great fight. But anyways, that is the end of the video. If you are new here or you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. Turn on post notifications. Like the video if you did enjoy. Leave your opinions on MVP joining the UFC. All these fights Dana is announcing. Leave your opinions or early predictions in the comments down below. I love reading them, and I'll see you guys in the next video, which will probably be my predictions for this weekend's boxing card.